Yeah, go ahead, Audrey. Try to explain the story a little bit, how you met Gus and how you guys had to, how it didn't kind of work in the beginning when you and Gus were doing things, and then how it led up to the other day, okay?
Okay. I am about 7 months into this. I met Gus about a year ago, November, December. My case has been really going on for about 9 years, but about 3 years ago, my ex-husband started to work to actually take all custody from me with our 2 boys. And after a trial, we had some schedule changes. The process drained me financially. I was represented with an attorney, and it just got to the point where I could no longer pay an attorney. And I started to, after the trial, which was just completely baffling, I couldn't figure out how they were doing this, how any of it was possible on hearsay and just false allegations. There was a guardian ad litem involved, and a guardian ad litem.
Audra, let everybody know that he's the one who breached the contract, not you.
Yeah, my ex-husband breached the contract. He's never honored any contract in his life, probably.
But like I said, people who just listening to this, when what do you call it? He's going to break this show apart. Lynch is going to break this apart. I guarantee your part especially. What I'm saying, what did he breach? I mean, how did he breach your marriage contract?
Essentially, abandonment and infidelity. And
did he ever contest that? Well, no. Did he agree? Did he admit that it was him that did this?
No. Because we have a no-fault divorce in New Hampshire, so it never even came forward.
Oh, yeah.
So it was never even an issue during the divorce. It was just.
Did he ever mention that you did something?
Yeah, he actually through the guardian ad litem that he was the one that brought all the guardian ad litems into our case. He was claiming that I had an affair with our male babysitter. And,
okay, this is because the Canadians really love this part, because I'll explain to you in a second. Did his attorney say to recommend that he get a guardian ad litem?
Yes.
Okay. See, folks in Canada, why they don't allow guardian ad litems in Canada anymore? Because what will happen is one side will hire a guardian ad litem, and obviously the person who pays the guardian ad litem $10,000 is obviously going to come back to a court with the facts reflecting that the person who paid the $10,000, they're not going to say, well, they paid me $10,000. I'm going to make them look like superstars. And the other side, I'm going to make them look like a bunch of crazy psychos. Okay, so that's why if the people in Canada are going to be confused a little, because I did this a year ago with people in Canada. They don't allow guardian ad litems in divorce cases anymore.
Yeah.
In custody cases.
We're working towards that here. There's a bill now.
So you try to explain, so you explain real quick what you thought about this guardian ad litem nonsense.
Well, my ex-husband paid him off. He had the money to do it, and I didn't. And it's a known guardian ad litem that's known to have done this in other cases. I didn't know that at the time.
Right. So what I'm trying to say, people who are listening to my show, the honorable thing to do is not to go out and get a guardian ad litem. Can you go get one? Yes. Can you pay him off? Yes. Can you pay him big bucks to make the other side look evil and nasty and twisted? Yes. But then the other side is going to try to go hire a guardian ad litem, and then it's going to basically neutralize and cancel each side out. And the judge is just going to say, this is ridiculous. The judge is going to realize what you guys are doing, that you're paying off guardian ad litems to make the other side look bad. But, okay, go ahead. I just want to explain what a guardian ad litem was to these people.
That was guardian ad litem number 4. And then when he tried to change the parenting plan again, he again wanted a guardian ad litem. I refused to contract with guardian ad litem number 5, and that's when they took my youngest son from me. So it was clear extortion and punishment by the court because I refused to hire the guardian ad litem. And meanwhile, I met Gus. I started studying your videos, and I started to file my first claim, and I called Gus from the courthouse, and he told me to leave, that I wasn't ready to file anything, and to go home, and he was going to call me later that day. And then that's when I really started to to start working my case in common law. That was back in August when I filed my first paperwork in common law. I haven't really gotten anywhere until this last Monday. So it's been a very long 7 months, frustrated 7 months. And what did it was I loosened up on the common law and submitted to the court. I'm there. It isn't my case. I mean, I'm under the jurisdiction of the family court, but I'm finally moving the court. And what I did was this last motion that my ex-husband filed was for supervised visitation. Now, I haven't seen my kids in 4 months now. He submitted for supervised visitation, and we got in there, and I required that my ex-husband take the stand, that the only way I was going to hold anybody accountable was if they provided testimony under oath and took the stand. And to my surprise, the referee, who has been sitting on my case all along and has not, let's say we haven't gotten along very well from the very beginning. He hesitated for just a moment. He looked at my husband's attorney and said, "Ms. Backus, put your client on the stand." I was really taken aback. I was really caught off guard, and she was as well. And I just kind of regrouped and went with it, and it changed everything. It was a show cause hearing. The hearing is going to be continued as an evidentiary hearing, and that's the most success that I've had in the last 7 months. Now, whether I hold on to that or not is to be seen, but I've exposed fraud on the court. She ended up, after my ex-husband started talking on the stand, she then interrupted his testimony and offered to go back to the original parenting schedule. Now, we were there for supervised visitation for me, and because of what my ex-husband was spewing under oath, she very abruptly stated that they were willing to go back to the original schedule if I agreed to the jurisdiction of the court, that I have been in contempt of this court numerous times, and that I have been putting in paperwork stating that this court does not have jurisdiction over me or my children, and blah, blah, blah. The referee then asked me if I feel that this court does have jurisdiction in this matter, and I said, as it stands now, yes. And I left it at that, and so I met her conditions, and we're gonna continue with an evidentiary hearing. So I should get word of that on Wednesday.
You're breaking up, Carl.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, you could talk to her, Audrey, because you're the one who did it with her. Because I'm sure a lot of women, a lot of guys are going to want to hear what you have to say, because that was a hell of a custody battle you went through.
All right, so what happened is I met Audrey about a year and a half ago, and she was going through some custody stuff, and I went over to her place, met her husband, we had dinner, we talked about redress, which is what I was doing back then, and I had gone through a divorce course. I was a redress petitioner with the New Hampshire House of Representatives. They had brought redress back to life. It had been dormant for 50 years, and so I had gotten involved with that. And so I was kind of politically active and knew a lot of people, and that's why she had gotten a hold of me through Facebook. So then I met, shortly after that, I met Karl, started studying this stuff, and, saw the videos and the stuff he had online. So by August, she was, we had stayed in touch, and by August, or July, I think it was in July, she called me up and said, I'm filing a claim, and they want $400 to file the claim. How do I get out of the filing fee? I can't afford to give them $400. And I happen to know that the federal courthouse filing fee is $400. So I said, are you at the federal courthouse? And she says, yes, I am. I said, why are you there? Why not the local court? Or she says, well, I'm here, I'm filing a claim, and she was ready to go. And I told her to read me the claim, and she read the claim to me. And I said, look, I'm in Virginia with Karl. I'll be home in a couple of weeks. Just hold off. Just give me a chance to get up there, and I'll help you out. And so we started working together, and she put paperwork into the court. Her first common law stuff, just clearing up the record that she was a woman not represented by an attorney, not pro se, that the original case had started as a petition for divorce, and that it was a mistake, and she was correcting the mistake by converting it to a breach of contract claim. And so it was a slow process, and it's just she's doing her own stuff, and we send paperwork back and forth, and she's writing her own stuff, and it's great to see the progress and the studying. She's done a lot of studying, learning the words, learning how to formulate her thoughts on paper, especially for a court, how to be brief and to the point. And so over the months that have gone by, the other side has been stating that she's nuts, she's insane, she's using this common law stuff. She's gonna hurt, people are gonna get hurt. She's gonna, she needs a psychological evaluation. She shouldn't be allowed around the kids. We need a guardian ad litem, and she's just been consistent, cool, calm, collective, sending out letters, doing her notices. And this past week, and one of the things that I've been trying to get her to focus on is getting the man on the stand. You can't argue with offers of proof. Offers of proof are going to kill you. You can't fight offers of proof, because an attorney will just sit there and ramble on and on and on and on, and then when it's your turn to rebut, you're talking about things that aren't true, and how are you supposed to correct every little thing that was said by the attorney? And then the attorney can't be held accountable. What are you going to do, go to the Judicial Conduct Committee and file a complaint, which is going to be heard 6 years from now? It's impossible. You got to put the man on the stand. There's got to be testimony in the courtroom. And what happened this past week is she told the referee who was hearing the case that the referee's been accepting offers of proof and then putting out orders that have caused harm to her family, and she's had enough. She requires the man to be put on the stand, testimony be given, and basically she's told the judge, I require the man to be placed on the stand so I can hold him accountable. And the judge, there was a very short pause where I think he realized that she wasn't going to take no for an answer this time, because she's asked to do that several times in the past. And this time I think he saw her determination, and he told the attorney, put your client on the stand and swear him in. And they were taking her to court for supervised visits, claiming that she's unfit to be around her own children. And he got on the stand, testified about some stuff. She cross-examined him, and then the judge, the referee, the hearings referee, said that he wasn't planning on such a long hearing, and he was going to have to continue this at a later date, but he wanted to hear from Audra, so he excused the man and put Audra on the stand and said, I'd like to hear testimony from you. So she got on the stand, and she said, this is how it really is. And she just started nailing things one after the other. And just everything that had been going on. And the attorney basically cut her off and said, look, we don't mind going back to 50-50 custody so long as she agrees that the jurisdiction of the court still applies. Well, that's never been an issue. That's never even been raised. So basically they filed a claim looking to take custody away from her altogether, that she was nuts, she was, had all these common law issues, and now they're withdrawing that without any real testimony being put in from Audra. She testified for maybe 2 minutes at the most. She just basically said it was all bullshit. So never even went through cross-examination from the other side, and it's going to be continued. And this woman's the attorney's already withdrawing the complaint to have the supervised visits put into place. So basically, actually Barbara from Nova Scotia was the first one to pick up on it. They've committed fraud. I had a full day. I went on to do other things. I got back to my state that night, and here's Barbara and Audra talking about how, that first claim was fraud. They're claiming one thing, and when in fact it's got nothing to do with that. And before the hearing was done, they were already pulling the claim out. So that's a pretty good basis for fraud. So that's where we're at now. And there's some school issues that are kind of important that she needs to address because of the scheduling of the schooling for next year is happening right now. And one of the boys, I guess, is really good with music, and she's trying to make sure that he's got the capacity to get a music scholarship down the road, and that in order for that to happen over the next 4 years, he really has to focus on music camp and getting just real good lessons and so on. And she wants to make sure that happens, and the man's not in tune with that. So now she's putting in she put in a notice that she requires an emergency hearing to address 2 or 3 issues. Even before they go back and continue the last hearing, based on the fact that there was fraud, she wants her right to address the school issues. She wants the court to tell the schools that it's okay to talk to her about the schooling issues. So, we're flip-flopping back and forth in common law and regular stat. It's a mess. But we're making progress, and things are definitely looking better than they did 6 months ago.
Yes, it is.
Sure, I missed a lot, but...
So did you explain what happened this week in court?
Yeah, we did. There was the last 6 months, just different things that have gone on, and she one of the things that she did is this man's interfering with her right to be let alone, with her right to have a relationship with her boys, and he's interfering with a lot of stuff, with her life. And so she sent him a notice. She sent him a very, very nice letter at the beginning of September that said, the boys are getting older. They're going to be teenagers. They're both teenagers now. So this is a couple of months ago. Sent them this letter saying, they're growing up fast. We're only going to have them for a little while. Why don't you stop doing all this stuff you're doing? Why don't we concentrate on enjoying the boys before they move on with their life and have their own families, and we don't see them anymore, and, just stop this nonsense. And so he didn't answer the first letter. He never responded. So she sent him a second letter along the lines of, hey, I've sent you a letter. I'm trying to resolve this outside of court, trying to, just trying to make nice, and you haven't responded. So here's a copy of the first letter, so that in case you didn't get the first one. So she waited another 10 days, and then she had him served by process service with a fair warning letter saying, hey, I sent you a letter a month ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever that time frame was, and then I sent you a second letter, and I've included both for your convenience. But this is getting ridiculous. Do you give a shit about your kids or not? This stuff's got to come to an end. You've been doing this to me, to the kids, for 7 or 8 months, and basically since the beginning of the summer. And I require you to cease and desist, or I'm going to have to seek compensation for damages. And if you don't stop, I will forgive you if you stop now. If you just put an end to this and leave it alone, I will forgive you. However, if you continue on with this, I think she said $10 an hour from Labor Day, from September 1st.
Yeah.
So, is that what it was? So she got, she had him served with this notice, this fair warning, and the next day the guy goes and files a restraining order saying that the guy who served him, this notice, this fair warning notice, was threatening, and he was a friend of hers that just showed up at the door, they scared the shit out of the family, and the dog was barking, and he just made this big dramatic story. Well, it turns out Audra's never even met this guy. She just found out he was a process server, and who happens to be, Audra's become more politically involved here in New Hampshire, so she found out this guy who was a state rep, 6 terms as a state rep in New Hampshire, happens to be a process server, got in touch with him because he happens to live in the town that her ex-husband does, and asked him to serve the process, and he agreed. So he got on the stand, and Audra says, I wasn't there. She says he looks like Santa Claus, and he testified to the whole process. So, here's her ex-husband saying this big scary dude showed up at the door and threatened her and all this stuff. Turns out this guy's a state rep, and now she's going back to court. Last week, she went, this last hearing, she showed up, and she put on the court all the police reports that he filed where he was lying about shit, and statements that he made to the police. The police are no longer willing to get involved because they know that he's full of shit, and they basically told him, don't count on us to help you out. And so, she's gotten all this evidence compiled over the last 6 months, all the while maintaining her status as a woman, not in, through the statutes, but in common law, requiring the restoration of property. So she hasn't budged 1 inch from her standing, hasn't gotten, real far that way. However, she's established a very solid record of not being emotionally unstable and so on. She just maintained very, very simple paperwork and has tried very hard to stay out of court. And he's the one who's pushing the controversy, and the Guardian ad litem report even said so. In the Guardian ad litem report, I don't know if you put that on your website, the Guardian ad litem talks about how she's using the Karl Lentz common law method, and because she has realized that the courts are not going to be able to help her out in this particular situation. And likewise, the man is also, has also realized that the courts are not effective for him. However, he continues to use the limited resources of the state, of the judiciary, to try to gain his end, the thing he's looking to get out of this. So, the Guardian ad litem acknowledged what this guy's trying to do. The police acknowledged what he's trying to do. Meanwhile, she's maintained, a very even keel, and the results are, I'm expecting the results to be very good in the next 30 days.
I hope you're right. Just trying to gain some ground has taken a lot. Well, it's taken nearly everything out of me. It requires so much patience, and this last 7 months, it felt like 10 years. So I'm anxious to see if this is a permanent turn or, for the better. We'll know this week.
Well, that's good. No, you guys are doing good, man. I'm sure, Craig Lynch is going to definitely take Audrey's section out and make a special YouTube video just what you guys went through. It was a hell of a good story. I mean,
Got a lot of time involved.
Oh yeah, I know you put a lot of time in, and I know Audrey did. It was a lot of fun. I met her up in Providence, and it's really good when you get to meet somebody face to face because you could reach them at a different level. Because I saw how you were trying to reach her, and I said to myself, I just don't think he's got it there with her yet. Let me see if I could put my spin on it, and let me see if I can make her see it a little bit easier this way by just basically saying who breached the contract. Has he ever kept honor to any of the agreements or contracts or commitments he has ever made? You know, and she kept saying no. You know, he's always been very dishonorable. You know, he swore before his family that he would do this and that, and he broke that agreement. Then he broke another agreement, and then it was just one agreement after another, after another, after another. And like I said, you know, like I was saying before, when I'm from New York, and like I said, my dad was raised up by Sicilians, and my sister married, you know, to the Gambinos, who were Sicilian. And when you say something, you better do it. And if you don't do it, there's no excuse. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear, well, I got a bellyache, my toe hurt. They want to see you at 3:07 a.m. They call you. You better be ready. You better be ready for your family, and you better act like you better die doing it. You better not say, well, I didn't feel like it, and I don't want to show up, or it was too cold, it was too hot. No, I mean, it was a wonderful way to grow up, and it was a wonderful way to be ready at every minute of your life, to have to just lay down your life and die for those that you love. And obviously this guy that she married had no intention on doing that.